Welcome back to the channel, guys. In an unexpected turn of events, right after I got done filming the 996.2 versus 997.2 GT3 video, which should already be on my channel, another friend showed up with his 991.2 GT3. This is going to be a separate video, but it's going to be kind of an add-on video. I want to talk about how these three cars drive back to back, since I have the distinct privilege of being able to do just that. I just hopped out of that 997.2 GT3 and I drove the 996.2 an hour and a half ago. So this 991.2 generation is no longer the latest GT3. Obviously the 992 has been out for some time now, but it still feels fresh. It still feels modern in here. This interior is in a totally different league of build quality compared to the 997.2. Materials quality has been upgraded. This steering wheel feels so perfect. The rim itself has gotten a little bit thinner, I think. It also feels a little bit more spacious in here. Obviously the 991 generation grew in size quite a bit over its predecessors. So this car now commands an asking price with the 6-speed manual transmission of over $200,000. So is it worth the additional money over a roughly $100,000 996.2 GT3 and $170,000 997.2? That's the question I'm going to try to answer. So we're powered by a 4-liter naturally aspirated flat 6 engine. It's no longer a Metzger engine, but that's okay because this thing revs to 9,000 RPM. Even the Metzgers of old could not do that. This makes 500 horsepower. The car still weighs just a touch over 3,100, maybe 3,200 pounds. We've got these amazing bucket seats. You can get it with a 7-speed PDK, but I'm glad the owner Yue spec'd the manual. This shade of green is absolutely insane. It is so bright, it is so loud, and I love every bit of that. But enough of that, let's see how the 991.2 drives on a canyon road. By the way, the only mod he has on this is an Akrapovic exhaust. Ooh. Much more kind of punchy but purposeful startup compared to the older GT3s. All right, we're gonna put this into sport, PASM dampers in the stiffer setting, ESC and traction control off. We'll leave the auto rev matching on because I do want to see how good this system really is. 991.2 generation and even the 991.1 generation, they don't have hydraulic power steering. These moved to electric power steering. How big of a difference is that going to make in terms of steering feel? That's what I want to know, because the previous generations hydraulic racks were just brimming with feedback. Oh my goodness, this thing is just, it's ready to go, man. I can just feel it in sport mode. The throttle response is so, it's touchy, but it's still controllable. Already feels more precise than the previous generation cars. Oh my God. You've got to be kidding me. Engine, the brakes, the steering precision. This is on a completely different level now. I say now, but this car is like 5-6 years old at this point. Oh, 9,000 RPM. Let's go. Auto rev match does it better than any human ever could. Of this engine, that high-pitched shriek, you don't even get that with the old Metzger engines, and those are some of the best sounding engines of all time. This is just absolute madness. How can they make the GT3 even better than this? I need to get behind the wheel of a 992 ASAP. Look at this composure through here. Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, very grippy. It's on rails, the motoring journalist cliche of the last 5 decades, but it really does describe this car well. Straight line pull. Combined with this Akrapovic exhaust, this 4-liter engine It's an absolute screamer. Wow, 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 wow. 500 horsepower is just the right amount. You do not need a single additional bhp in your GT3. Driving this car at 6/10, it's so enjoyable, it's so precise. The steering, while ultimately lacking feedback compared to the old hydraulic racks, it's way more precise. There's way less slop on center. Oh my god, this is on a totally different level, guys. 996 GT3, it started the GT3 era, if you will, but it was rough around the edges, even with the .2 facelifted generation. It's a car that feels a lot more skunk works. The 997 generation made things a lot more refined. They increased the performance envelope, kept the good parts of the raw qualities of that old car, while dialing out some of the handling quirks or challenges, if you will, of the 996 chassis. This 991 in .2 form feels like a car you honestly could do everything with. You can drive this every single day. This one's been spec'd out with the front axle lift, so you can go over speed bumps no problem. It's comfortable, it's refined, the NVH levels. You do hear the tires, yes, and you do hear the engine behind you, but it's not distracting by any means. Drive it hard, this thing just comes alive. Dive into the brakes, corner entry, the front end is pinned, absolutely pinned. The brakes are so confidence inspiring. Perfect auto rev matched downshift. It's hard to go full throttle in this car on the downhill for more than a couple seconds at a time. It is so much faster than the previous gen cars, and you can bang off the shifts so much quicker. The throttle response is even more sensitive. This is a car that wants to be on a racetrack, or at least a very wide open canyon road. This thing is honestly next level, and to think it came out about 6 years ago, that's just mind-blowing. Listen to this, guys, listen to this. Windows slightly down. To be kidding me. This is one of the best engines of all time, if not the best, in terms of sound, response, the torque curve, the power delivery. Oh my god. This car, the way I would describe it versus the previous generation .2s, the 996 and the 997, it feels more digital than those cars, but not in a bad way. It still retains a lot of the analog qualities we've come to love. The manual shifter, by the way, which feels absolutely excellent. Very little slop, very positive feel. The precise razor sharp steering, even though it doesn't have the tingliness of a hydraulic rack, you still get a reasonable amount of feedback, and it's just utterly so precise. There's no slop in it whatsoever. The chassis, the suspension, the brakes, honestly, even though those two cars have really high-end dampers, we've got Öhlins and Motons, the stock dampers, PASM dampers in this car feel better than those. Doesn't upset the chassis when you go over bumps, and you get great body control. We were driving in the stiffer setting this whole time. Perfectly comfortable and incredibly confidence inspiring. The brakes on this car are far more confidence inspiring, not even close compared to the last gen vehicles. I mean, what else can I say? I don't have really any complaints about this car. I wish it could have a little bit more steering feel, but honestly at this point I am splitting hairs. This car is, dare I say, just about perfect. It feels every bit of 250 grand, and I think it's worth the extra money if you want a streetable, performance-focused Porsche. The 997.2 at 170 grand, it feels really, really special, and I would argue maybe more special from a rarity perspective, but as an all-around car, this thing is where it's at. I cannot wait to get behind the wheel of a 992 soon. Let me know if you guys in the Bay Area have one. Let me know how you think all these generations compare. Thank you guys for watching. Big thank you to Yue for letting me drive his car, and I'll see you guys in the next one.